Chad Brendel, Tim Adams here from Camp Higher Ground, Wednesday practice. Big scrimmage today, Tim. What were your initial impressions from the scrimmage?
I think initially I was surprised by the defense. I thought they played better than I anticipated they were going to play. And other than that first drive, really did a really good job with what we think is a pretty potent offense.
Yeah, and it was a variety of guys. You had Walt Stewart that made some plays, Cam Cheatham that made some plays.
He had a good scrimmage.
He had a really good scrimmage. A couple interceptions that you'll read a little bit about more in the practice report. But you're right. Defensively, they look very active.
Yeah, I think all around they were pretty good there today. They got some pressure on the passer, flushed him out of the pocket. I like those young cornerbacks. I think Adrian Whitty played well today. Devin Drain continues to look good out there. Reuben Johnson. So that cornerback spot. And then one of the surprises today was Jason Kelsey was moved to center today.
Yeah.
And Evan Davis was playing his usual spot, Kelsey's usual spot at left guard. So he obviously, and he had one bad snap. I noticed one bad snap out of Kelsey, but I was talking to one of the coaches, and they think that Kelsey may be better suited to be an NFL center. So they're going to give him a look at least.
Was that surprising to you, or was that something that you kind of thought maybe might happen?
I didn't think it was going to happen. I mean, Kelsey's been there before. He's played center before, but this just happened. Apparently, the move was made yesterday. They took some of his snaps, and they liked some of what they saw. And I think Davis has been struggling a little bit, especially when he has to go to his right. His snap is is to the left. So they're having a little bit of issue with that. So we'll see what happens as things continue. But I think it's a big deal that Kelsey played center. First
team defense looked good. I thought the second team defense looked pretty solid as well.
That's what they're hoping to develop some depth in that second team there. And I thought we'd see a little more Jordan Stepp. He played some later with the first team, but they seem to be taking it easy with him today. Michael Hilty was in his stead there. Lozano was in there with the second team defensive line. And Steve Hancock's been there in that second team defensive line the entire time. So he's continuing to play well. I thought he had a pretty decent, even though he's not very big, he's probably maybe 250 pounds.
Anybody on the offense kind of catch your eye today?
Well, I think Coach mentioned Hazelton had some plays. Maybe would have returned a kickoff for a touchdown there. But
that was a nice run.
It was a nice run. That was nice to see that. We went probably, I don't know how many, 4 decades without a touchdown being returned, kickoff return for a touchdown. Then last year we had all kinds with Marty Gilliard. But it looks like maybe they're going to be okay in that kick return. Other offense, I'd have to really go back and look at my notes. I'm not sure.
It's kind of surprising DJ Woods had a drop that on a broken play from Zach. Zach threw it out there pretty nice. You very rarely see that from DJ.
Yeah, he did. Not you mentioned his name, but he did make a couple nice plays too, some big gains. So he's a guy that's pretty sure bet. I don't remember seeing Benz doing too much today.
I think he had a penalty.
Yeah, he had a holding penalty.
Yeah.
That was one of the things I do remember on Reuben Johnson. But that's the 3 wideouts of getting almost exclusively all the reps with the first unit.
One thing I really liked is at the end of the scrimmage, third-teamers were out there. Directly behind the third-teamers, you had Caleros, you had DJ Woods, Marcus Barnett came out a little bit, and they were working with the younger guys, kind of coach on the field type stuff. I was pretty impressed with the way that they handled themselves through that.
Yeah, Zach was really helping down Munchie there. He was right on the field, and sometimes looked like he was even calling out audibles or whatever he was doing. I'm not quite sure. But Munchie really ran the ball well.
Yeah.
He just tucked it under and went and made a couple of really, really nice runs. And I'd mentioned earlier in the year that I didn't think he threw it quite as tight a spiral or as consistent a spiral as some of the other guys. But he's improved in that area. We saw today that with his feet, he's certainly going to be a weapon. So.
Special teams, you got to talk about one, a 60-yard just monster kick from O'Donnell, and then a 52-yard field goal by Jake Rogers. Both of those kids showing impressive legs.
Jake was outstanding.
Yeah.
I think he had 3 kickoffs, 1 to the goal line, 1 to the back line of the goal line, and then I think the other one to the 6-yard line. You mentioned the 52-yard field goal that he made. He made another field goal that just barely made it. I can't remember how far that one was.
I think it was 40-ish range. It was close. I think it was close, quite a bit closer than the 52, but...
Yeah. But he was perfect today. You mentioned O'Donnell's got that big leg, much like Kevin Huber does, high and long. That first punt had to be 60 yards, but the next one was, he shanked the other one. He still got a nice roll, probably went about 35, maybe 40 yards. But that's the thing with him. You're going to get those big boomers, and then you're going to get those stinkers, in there. So we got to slowly erase some of the stinkers and get more of the boomers.
Family parent scrimmage coming up on Saturday, but this really was the big scrimmage of camp.
Absolutely. This is the longest I've seen him go live on.
It was about 80 plays, and they went, 4 periods of drills. and then they did the other 16 periods of scrimmage.
Right. So this was by far the most live action we saw, and we didn't really see any skirmishes that I can recall.
No.
Nothing really serious.
They were pretty
there.
well behaved today.
Yeah, but they just had that one thing Saturday, but. Yeah, this was they really haven't had a lot of live action out here. I think they know they're sort of thin, so they're trying to keep everybody as healthy. And Giordano got back on the field today, which was a good sign. One guy we didn't see, Monte Taylor.
Yeah.
He was nicked up, and I guess they didn't want to take a chance on hurting him.
Giordano got to play, but he didn't get to play as much as he wanted to. He was a little upset that they had cleared him. But you have to be careful with a guy like that because let's face it, he is extremely important to this defense.
He is, and he's been out the last 4 or 5 practices, so I don't think you want to throw. You know what he can do.
Yeah.
So you don't want to really throw him out there and risk missing him for another week or 2 weeks.
You've had some time now to look at Brandon Mills more as a defensive end. He was pretty much strictly a tackle or an inside guy. Now he's moved outside. What are your overall thoughts on the way he plays on the outside?
Well, he's playing both still. He's playing inside and outside. But he is just, for a guy that didn't even have a MAC offer, and we were talking about it earlier, he amazes you.
Yeah.
When I remember at the Sugar Bowl last year, of course, Florida had that huge offensive line, and there's this guy that looks like the ball boy out there.
He looked like me and you standing out there.
And but he's quick. He's got a great intensity. That's the thing about him that I think partly makes him so good. Is he has to play with so much enthusiasm and so much intensity, and he had a pretty good scrimmage too. He puts pressure. He gets loose and causes havoc and gets in the other team's backfield. So he had a nice scrimmage. Now that you mentioned him, and Stewart, he had 2 sacks in a row there later in the scrimmage.
And he's just a physical specimen, and I think he helps. It's been touched on the boards a little bit, but for your thoughts, he helps that offensive line because whoever's going to play that right tackle position, if you can contain him, you're going to be, that's probably your guy.
Yeah, if you can keep him, and if you can hold your own against him, you're probably going to be in pretty good shape. And I thought I didn't notice Cobb giving up a lot today.
And for offensive linemen, the less you notice them, sometimes the better.
Yeah. Now the one negative, Sam Griffin went out, and you said it looked like an ankle.
Looked like an ankle. Didn't look serious. They had him in some ice. Looked like precautionary. Typical, like we talked about training camp stuff. That's a starter. There's no point in risking further injury to him. Before we let everybody go, recruiting side real quick. Malcolm Crockett, a very nice kid at running back, and they've been looking for a running back for a while. He was probably the number 1 guy on their board.
Everything I've heard, he was the number 1 guy they wanted. They think he's a perfect fit. Watching the film on him yesterday reminded me a lot of Steve Slayton.
Yeah.
He has some really nice offers. I think he's going to get more. He's a guy that you're going to have to stay on through this recruiting process because I think as he goes into his senior year, he's going to have a big year, and more schools are going to get involved. So every indicator that I have on him is that he seemed pretty solid when I talked to him last night. But as you know, better than anybody,
oh, yeah.
Recruiting can change, not day to day, but sometimes minute to minute.
Yeah, second to second if you want to really break it down. But that's a very solid get for them, running back. And it seems like he was a guy, you talked to him last night, guys that are in that spread offense, running backs that are in that spread offense aren't as scared away by coming into it. It sounds like, they understand what their role is. Where some of those power backs are guys that are running in an I set or a pro set tight, they think they're not going to get the ball in the spread.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is, as much as we talked about running the ball every year with Coach Kelly, we never really did. Yeah. And so I think some of these guys, and certainly the other recruiters aren't dummies. They're going to show them, they're telling you, here are the numbers. Here's what's happened in the past. So, we saw Coach Jones State talk about they ran the ball a lot here in today's scrimmage, and that's a point of emphasis for him that I think he's going to follow through with. And I think as the running backs start to see, yes, we are going to be a real part of this offense, I think that they're going to be more likely to come here, like the receivers.
Right. Oh, receivers, that's not a problem. Stay tuned, Bearcat Lair tonight. It might be potentially another late night.
Yeah, we're hoping to talk to a recruit here right before I came out, and it's going to be a really good get. He told me he's coming, but I want to be sure that he commits before I go out there with my butt on the line. So, it's a real good get. People are going to be real happy with it.
So stay tuned tonight on that, BearcatLair.com. Tim Adams, Chad Brendel. Tim, thanks a lot. Enjoy Saturday. I'll be working basketball.
Well, that's what we need you. We need you on the basketball. We usually get this covered pretty much, but the basketball, I'm duck out of water.
All right, Tim. Thanks a lot.